Number 1. Where Earth still breathes like it did 1,000 years ago. Norway isn't just beautiful, it's humbling. It's the kind of place that reminds you how small we are and how grand the world still can be when left untouched. Towering cliffs rise like stone cathedrals, glacial rivers carve through ancient valleys, and fjords, long, narrow, impossibly deep, wind between the mountains like veins of silver. But Norway's landscapes aren't just dramatic, they're alive. You don't just see the scenery, you feel it, in the sharp wind rolling off a glacier, in the echo of waterfalls thundering down a sheer rock face, in the silence of pine forests stretching beyond the horizon. And more than that, the land here isn't fenced off or commercialized. Thanks to the ancient right to roam, anyone can walk, hike, or camp freely almost anywhere as long as they respect the land. This country is home to some of the most iconic natural wonders in Europe. Trolltunga, the troll's tongue, juts out over a 700-meter drop, daring the bold to stand at its edge. Preikestolen, or the Pulpit Rock, offers a view so vast it seems unreal. And then there's Geiranger a UNESCO World Heritage Site, where mist drifts between emerald cliffs and waterfalls tumble like silver threads from above. But perhaps the most extraordinary thing is this. None of it feels artificial. None of it feels crowded. Norway's wilderness doesn't ask for attention. It commands stillness. So, if you've ever longed to know what Earth looked like before we touched it, here, you'll find your answer. The land is bold, untamed, and deeply rooted. And when you meet Norwegian women, you realize, so are they. Number 2, the women of Norway. Quiet power, unshaken grace. Norwegian women are often praised for their beauty. Tall, fair, with blue-gray eyes that seem to hold the light of glaciers. But that's only the surface. What truly defines them is something deeper. A quiet strength shaped by generations of independence, equality, and resilience. In Norway, gender equality isn't an idea. It's a way of life, and it's visible everywhere. You'll see women managing companies, flying helicopters, serving in the Arctic military. They hike alone, ski across frozen lakes, and fix their own cabins in the forest. But more than that, they do it with a calm assurance. Not to prove anything, but because it's normal here. And the mindset begins early. From a young age, girls are encouraged to be curious, capable, and self-reliant. They're not told to dream big. They're expected to. By adulthood, confidence isn't loud. It's built in. In relationships, it's the same story. Dating in Norway isn't about roles or rituals. Women here don't wait to be approached. They'll ask you out, suggest the place, and split the bill without blinking. But it's not about being modern. It's about being practical. No drama. No pretending. Just two people meeting as equals, and yet, even in simplicity, there's elegance. Norwegian women rarely wear heavy makeup. They prefer wool to silk, comfort over flash, and nature over noise. But somehow, it all works. There's a timeless grace in how they move, speak, and carry themselves. And perhaps the most surprising thing is this. In a society where independence is expected, warmth is not lost. Whether it's a mother guiding her child across an icy path, or a stranger helping you navigate a snowy trail, you'll feel the quiet kindness that runs deep beneath the reserve. In Norway, beauty isn't defined by appearance, but by presence. Strength isn't loud, and freedom isn't flashy. Have you ever met someone like that? Someone who didn't have to say much, but left an impression anyway? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Number 3, a land where the sky never stays the same. The sky in Norway doesn't follow the clock. It follows its own rhythm. From late September to March, the northern lights return, sweeping across the Arctic sky in soft ribbons of green, violet, and gold. They appear without warning, shift without sound, and vanish just as quietly. Watching them feels less like seeing a weather event and more like being let in on a secret the Earth usually keeps to itself. But that's only part of what makes the sky here so strange and so unforgettable. As winter fades into spring, the sun begins to stretch its time above the horizon, and in the far north, it eventually stops setting altogether. The midnight sun hangs in the sky day after day, casting a soft golden light even in the middle of the night. People go hiking at 2 a.m., not because they have to, but because they can. Then, as the seasons turn once more, the sun disappears entirely. For weeks during the polar night, the sky never brightens. But darkness in Norway isn't complete. Instead, it becomes a deep blue glow, cool, quiet, and strangely calming. Life slows, homes glow softly from within, and the world takes on a kind of quiet focus that's hard to explain until you've felt it yourself. What's remarkable is how naturally people here move with the sky, adjusting, adapting, and even celebrating its extremes. Because in Norway, the light isn't just something you live under. It's something you live by. Number 4. A wealthy nation that chooses simplicity. Norway is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, but you wouldn't know it just by looking around. There are no sprawling mansions on every corner, no luxury cars lining the streets. Most people dress in practical layers, wear weatherproof shoes, and carry backpacks instead of designer handbags. It's not because they can't afford more. It's because they don't need to prove anything. Here, success isn't measured by what you show. It's measured by how you live. High incomes, a $1 trillion sovereign wealth fund, and world-leading living standards exist side by side with a culture that values modesty, balance, and function over flair. Even CEOs might take the tram to work or spend weekends repairing a wooden cabin in the forest, and no one finds that surprising. This simplicity isn't a trend. It's part of a deeper mindset, a quiet belief that happiness doesn't come from more, but from enough. That comfort is better than excess. That nature is worth more than status. And the result is something you notice quickly, a society that feels calm, stable, and grounded. People trust each other more. They stress less about appearances. And life, somehow, moves at a more thoughtful pace. In Norway, wealth isn't loud. It's lived. And often, it's lived quietly. Number 5, high taxes, but no one's complaining. In many countries, high taxes spark frustration. In Norway, they're accepted, even appreciated. That might sound surprising, especially when top earners pay over a third of their income to the state. But here, people don't see taxes as something taken. They see them as something shared, a contribution to a system that gives back. And it really does give back. Healthcare is public and affordable. If you reach a modest out-of-pocket limit, the rest of the year's care is covered, from hospital stays to prescription medication. Education, including university, is free. Even international students pay nothing for a degree. New parents receive long, paid parental leave. Children are supported monthly until age 18. Seniors receive pension benefits, even if they choose to retire to a cabin deep in the countryside. And for those who need help, whether due to illness, age, or unemployment, support is there. But perhaps what makes it all work isn't just the policies. It's the trust. Norwegians trust that the system is fair, that politicians won't pocket what they shouldn't, that the social contract is real and respected. As a result, paying taxes doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like being part of something that works. And in a world where so many feel left behind, that might be the greatest wealth of all. Number 6, a school system built on trust, not pressure. In Norway, learning doesn't begin with competition. And it doesn't end at graduation. From the very start, children are taught not just facts, but freedom. They spend more time outdoors than in front of a screen. They play in the snow, explore the woods, and learn to solve problems by doing, not memorizing. Exams exist, but they're not constant, and grades aren't the only measure of success. What matters more is curiosity, confidence, the ability to think clearly and kindly. Education is free, not just for Norwegians, but for anyone. Even international students can earn a university degree here without paying tuition. That's not an exception. That's the policy. And the system doesn't stop with children. Adults who never finish school can go back. Workers can retrain. Learning isn't boxed into age. It's seen as a right, and more than that, as a lifelong companion. Teachers are respected. Schools are calm. There's no need for tutors, cram sessions, or burnout. Students are taught how to live well, not just how to pass a test. Because in Norway, education isn't just preparation for the future. It's part of how you live in the present. Number 7, expensive, but it feels worth it. Norway is often ranked as one of the most expensive countries in the world. And it's true. A simple cup of coffee might cost $5. A modest dinner for two can easily pass $100. Rent in the city feels more like New York than Northern Europe. Even groceries can be a shock to the system. But somehow, people don't seem rushed, or stressed, or weighed down by it. Because the cost of living isn't just about what you pay, it's about what you get in return. Clean air, safe streets, public transport that runs on time, healthcare that doesn't break your budget, a slower pace of life where the quality isn't just in the products, it's in the spaces between them. And more than that, incomes tend to match. Most people earn enough to live comfortably, and the social safety net fills in the gaps when life doesn't go to plan. There's less pressure to compete, to accumulate, or to constantly chase more. Instead, the focus shifts from getting ahead to living well. So yes, Norway is expensive, but when the basics are taken care of, when time belongs to you, and when peace becomes the norm, it starts to feel like a fair trade. Number 8, Oslo, a capital that breathes like a forest. Oslo doesn't feel like most capital cities. There's no frantic pace, no towering glass skyline, no overwhelming rush to get ahead. Instead, it moves with quiet certainty, slower, softer, more grounded, like the forest that surrounds it. And that's not just a metaphor. More than half of Oslo's land is covered in trees, lakes, and open green spaces. The city doesn't push nature to its edges. It pulls it in. You'll find pine trails that begin behind apartment blocks and hiking paths that lead almost directly from the subway. People jog past birch trees on their morning commute or stop by a lakeside bench before heading into the office. But Oslo isn't quiet because it lacks life. It's quiet because it protects it. There's a kind of deliberate rhythm here. Public transport isn't rushed. It's reliable. Trams glide past without honking. Cyclists move smoothly alongside buses. Sidewalks feel calm, even in the city center. And in the middle of it all, cafes remain full, not with noise, but with conversation, eye contact, and unhurried moments. Art is part of the landscape, too. Modern museums sit beside wooded parks. Sculptures emerge from hillsides. The Oslo Opera House, rising from the harbor like a sheet of floating ice, invites people not just to watch performances, but to walk its roof and look out across the fjord. Even in its most urban corners, Oslo leaves space for stillness. You don't have to escape the city to feel peace. You just have to notice it. And that's what makes Oslo different. It's a capital city that doesn't compete for your attention. It invites it gently. It doesn't demand more. It reminds you that enough is already here. But Oslo is just one reflection of how Norwegians choose to live. What happens when they leave the city behind? Number 9, a culture that escapes not to run away, but to return. In Norway, getting away from the city isn't just a holiday. It's a way of life. Nearly 1 in 3 households owns a small wooden cabin, nestled by a lake, hidden in the forest, or perched quietly in the mountains. These aren't luxury retreats. Most are simple, even rustic. No Wi-Fi, no central heating. Just firewood, silence, and space. But that's the point. People come here not to disconnect from the world, but to reconnect with themselves. To cook slowly, to hike without a destination. To watch the weather change through a single window and not feel the urge to move. Even for those without a cabin of their own, nature is always open. Thanks to Allemannsretten, the right to roam, anyone can walk, camp, or rest almost anywhere in the wild, as long as they leave no trace and keep a respectful distance from private homes. There are no gates, no signs that say, "Keep out." The land belongs to everyone, and everyone knows how to care for it. This deep relationship with nature isn't loud or romanticized. It's built into everyday life, into childhood weekends, into summer rituals, into how Norwegians define what it means to feel well. Because here, escaping doesn't mean leaving behind the world. It means remembering what matters in it. Number 10, festivals, trolls, and the quiet heart of a culture. In Norway, tradition doesn't shout, but it lasts. You'll see it in the quiet pride of Constitution Day, held every May 17th. While many countries celebrate with military parades, Norway gives the day to children. Tens of thousands walk through the streets, waving flags, dressed in traditional bunad, singing songs passed down for generations. There's no display of power, only joy, community, and remembrance. But Norwegian culture also leaves space for the strange and the playful. There's the Troll Festival in the summer, where people dress as mythical creatures, tell stories by firelight, and wander forests in search of something imagined. Or the Rakfisk Festival, dedicated entirely to a fermented fish so pungent it requires courage just to taste, and even more to enjoy. For locals, it's not just food, it's identity, it's humor, it's endurance. And then, there are the small stories, the ones that never make the headlines. Like the time an invasive species of Spanish slug caused a national debate, not just about agriculture, but about kindness. Some wanted to eliminate them. Others said even slugs deserve compassion. For weeks, the country discussed ethics, responsibility, and the balance between nature and control. Because in Norway, culture isn't just found in monuments or museums. It lives in how people treat one another, in how they protect their land, in the space they leave for the strange and the sincere to exist side by side. Norway doesn't try to impress you, but it stays with you. In the silence of its forests, in the stillness of its light, in the way its people live without rushing, something shifts. And for a moment, you remember what it feels like to breathe fully, to slow down, to live simply, and live well. If this kind of world speaks to you, I invite you to stay a little longer. Subscribe and come with me as we explore more places like this, where nature, people, and meaning still hold their place. I'll see you in the next story.